I have seen many conversations and debates about who marriage protects. I have seen many men who are of the view that marriage is a loss for a man. There's nothing a man gains in marriage, and it is just there to protect women and children and all of that. I have also seen women, on the other hand, who are also complaining that marriage is also a loss for a woman. It is the man who benefits, or woman sacrifices so much for men, and the women are treated as slaves. They actually gain nothing, and it protects them from nothing. But I think that many of these claims come as a result of regrets and pain people get out of marriage. And even though some people have benefited from marriage, they also end up joining this conversation out of pain or out of issues or problems when they emerge in the marriages. So today I decided to treat this topic as a very important one, because you all got to understand that a marriage institution, as we've been talking about for the past few weeks, is something that we all have our share of it. Marriage protects each one of us, the man, the woman, and the kids, because there are three people involved in the marriage. So this is the institution called marriage, hosted by Dr. Bright Obuobi. You can call me Love Dr. Obi. If you are new on this channel, please don't hesitate to hit on the subscribe button and also hit on the notification bell, so that when I upload every episode of this series, you'll be the first person to get. If you're also a returning subscriber, I appreciate you so much for journeying with me. In the previous episodes, I've talked about many important things in marriages, and if you have journeyed with me throughout, you realize that this series is taking a particular pattern or shape, trying to explain the most meaningful things to you, so that you understand there are many misconceptions out there which people do not understand. So if you follow, you realize that we are trying to debunk so many myths that happens in marriage. And one of the topics that I talk about is that, are kids the purpose of marriage? Which is a very interesting topic that we talked about. And to begin with, who marriage protects, I want us to take it from the children's perspective. Okay. And I established last time that marriage with children is great, but marriage without children is also good, depending on how the circumstances are. And if you make the choice to not have children in that marriage, it's also still possible, because it gives so much emotional fulfillment. And so once I mentioned that there are three people involved in the marriage institution, let's talk about the children first. Because for every marriage, there's a higher chance that you'll find children than marriage, because society must go on. For everything that we are doing currently in society, it is to ensure that the next generation also continues. That's why it is necessary that we give birth in the most appropriate manner, so that we can have that order in society. So regarding how marriage protects children, the first thing is that it provides them with emotional stability and security. You see, children are vulnerable, and usually they do not know how to navigate their lives in this world. So they deserve to grow in a more stable and secure home, so that they can thrive. They require that foundation to be able to know that, oh, there is this sense of belongingness that I have. There is a mama over there. There is a father over there. So it is important to know that a stable marriage offers them that predictable environment where they can know that there's always somebody to rely to. So it's somebody who is there to love me the way I should be loved. And so children cannot thrive really well in chaotic environment. So we realize that in unstable homes or broken marriages, these children end up being all kinds of deviant behaviors. So we realize that a stable marriage offers these children with that emotional stability and support. Another way a stable marriage protects children is that it provides them with a more balanced upbringing from two roles. Men and women bring two different things to marriages. And so when children are thriving in marriages and they are lucky to have both parents within that marriage, they learn the feminine side from their mothers, and they learn the masculine side from their fathers. Children in healthy marriages have the opportunity to learn from two main perspectives, that is the feminine and the masculine. And so they are able to learn so many feminine traits, which is the compassion and nurturing and all that. And from the men's or masculine side, they're able to learn structure, discipline, and all that. So they have that benefit over children who do not grow up in a stable or healthy marriage. And so when it comes to that aspect, we realize that children have that sort of benefits over those who do not find themselves in marriages. They are lacking so many things, because they have that masculine and feminine energy at their disposal. And so they are able to learn them simultaneously. They know that, oh, this things are men's strength, or these things are women's strength, or that's how a man is supposed to be treated or behave, or that's how a woman is supposed to be treated or behave. Another major important thing regarding how marriage protects children is that it provides them with better economic and educational outcomes. Children who are able to grow up in stable and healthy marriages with both parents around are able to get better access to resources, education, and so many things. So both parents are there to sacrifice themselves for these kids, and so they are able to get those resources and access, and those people are able to perform better in educational institution compared to their friends or colleagues who do not have that stable family, because already that misunderstanding and chaos in that marriage is already a stress on the case, and so they don't have that sound mind to learn or to get those resources that they require as children to grow up effectively. To realize that children who do grow up in those stable marriages are able to have better access to these economic and educational resources. And so in society, the rich or those who are already having that sort of opportunities of staying together as partners are able to provide their children with more resources and advantages or opportunities more than those who do not grow up in a stable family or from broken homes. So it is very essential to understand that when it comes to who marriage protects, children should be the ultimate thing that marriage protects, because they are vulnerable and they do not choose their ways out. They just came here because of our decisions or the decisions of their parents or we as adults. And so when they are here, it becomes our full responsibility, and they should come first before any other thing. And I think this is so because we have all been children before, and once we were exposed to those vulnerabilities, then it is appropriate that we create that enabling environment and understand that, yes, we are here to protect these children. And so sometimes we have to compromise, sometimes we have to understand each other, sometimes we have to stay together to be able to provide these children with these things that I have mentioned, that better economic and educational outcomes, that emotional stability and support, and that access to better upbringing with two roles within the house. Now, having talked about how marriage protects kids, I would like to jump straight to how marriage protects women. To the woman who said that women do gain nothing from marriage except to be slaves to men and to serve them and all that. There are so many invisible and intangible things that marriage protects women from, but they do not realize. And so I'm going to tell you some of them. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that it provides them with emotional and social security. Many women will want to deny that, but that is the truth. Women are more of emotional beings and social beings, so they actually need that sort of environment to thrive in. So to women, marriage provides that companionship, that emotional support, and socially recognized partnership that reduces their vulnerability to loneliness and stigma, as we see in many traditional societies. So in as much as many women would like to deny, companionship and that emotional support is relevant, because had it not been the husbands of many women, maybe their life would have cut short, because loneliness actually breeds many negative things. And so to get that companionship for someone, it is also protecting you from so many things. And in many society or dispensation, men have protected women because of marriages, because in that regard, they are able to get some kind of status or that sense of belongingness to a particular person that you can express your feelings to. So you give you that fulfillment. In other words, it is protecting you from something. The second way that I believe that marriage protects women is that it provides them with shared responsibilities and protection. You see, life is so hard to do it alone. And so when you have someone who shares the responsibilities with you, especially in these economic hardships, it becomes very important and beneficial. Because when it comes to life planning, financial planning, long-term planning, life with kids and decisions, your work and everything, when you have a partner or someone who understands marriage as an institution that is beneficial to both of us, you realize that you are in a partnership with that person, and so you are not supposed to shoulder or burden everything in life. You have that support from that person in terms of finances, and when you are doing something, that person has your back or protecting you from something. If you're a woman, you have a man who is protecting you, and that man is protecting you because of what we call shared responsibility, because men brings that masculine energy to protect their women. So that shared responsibility and protection is something that many people are not realizing it, because those things are priceless and they can never be quantified. And so when you sleep very soundly because you know that there's a man in the house who is going to protect you no matter what comes. So many women out there are not getting that kind of partnership or shared responsibility and protection. Many women, when they are sleeping alone, they are so much afraid because there's nobody in that house. They cannot go to certain places because they do not have a man. And so it's an advantage to you, and you should consider it a very valuable thing you're having in your marriage. The last thing is that it provides women with legal and economic safeguards. Okay, since time immemorial, or since society started enacting so many laws regarding marriage, marriage has been a tool that is protecting women in society. Marriage has laws that put women in a position where they can exercise certain rights to be able to live very well in society. So many laws, including the inheritance laws, the property rights, and joint property ownership laws, spousal benefits, and all of that provides women with that sort of stability and security to be able to thrive in their marriages. But had they not been married, many women will not have access to those kinds of resources or those kinds of rights, because there are so many instances where women who are not in marriages are taken for granted because they refuse to get married. And so when they have children with certain men, or when the relationship ends without that sort of marriage protection, they end up losing everything or they gain nothing. Meanwhile, they've invested so much. And so marriage gives you that urge over those who are not in that marriage when it comes to those rights I just mentioned. When it comes to inheritance laws, in most cases, your children do benefit from the properties of the man, but it is not as compared to that of the other children who find themselves in that marriage. And so it is important for women to know that not only are you talking about that romantic or romance aspect, because when you got to a point in your marriage where you have to exercise some rights because things are not going so well, remember that that marriage that you involved yourself in is going to protect you in so many ways. Now, on the final part, I'm going to talk about how marriage protects men. I know many men have not realized this thing because they think that in marriages, men are only providing the money, and so we work so hard for the woman and all that. Many of them are myths and misconceptions, or men's inability to sit down well and analyze what they're actually benefiting from their marriage. Because I've said earlier that some of or many of these things are intangibles and invisible things that you cannot see. So a man, to some extent, is only considering the money or the resources that he is bringing, but he's not considering the thing that he would have lost had it not been that marriage that he cannot see, the growth and everything. And so I'm going to talk about a few of them. And the first thing is that it provides men with emotional grounding and support system. Like it or not, good marriages provide men with that grounding and support system. There are so many stresses in life that men have been put into, and so when you have that sort of stable marriage, or you have a woman behind you who understands this life and want to do this institution called marriage with you, realize that it gives you that grounding and emotional support system. A good marriage gives men some depth and stability where they are able to manage their stress and able to think clearly. And so it gives men that kind of focus to be able to do things in the best possible way. When you compare men who are in stable marriages and men who are not in stable marriages or are not married, you realize that those in stable marriages or are married do have a certain trajectory of life that is more advantageous than those who are not in that kind of marriage. So we realize that marriage provides men with that sort of grounding and support system. When you have a woman who understands her roles or gives you that respect, and it's already there to be your peace, realize that these things are invisible, these things are intangibles. But I realize that you could feel it, that had it not been this woman, my life would have been different. And there are many men out there who credit their stability, their focus in life, their wealth and everything to their wives. So the women were there for them, and in some way it has protected the men in society and in that marriage. The second thing is that marriage or a stable marriage provides men with motivation and structure. I've said this many times that men who are married are more likely to be successful than men who are not married. This is research. These are facts. They are just out there in the public. And men who are married and have children are also more likely to be successful than those who are married and not having kids. And so marriage gives you that sense of motivation, that purpose in life to go strive for something, to cater for this family. So to many men, had they not been married, they would have been nobody in society. they wouldn't have gotten the worth that they got, because a woman will push you to do something more. Your children will push you to do something more. And all these things helps you to thrive in society and go get more. The last thing I'm going to talk about regarding men is that it provides men with social acceptance and legacy. Like it or not, marriage has made so many men heavier than they would have been in society. In our traditional dispensation, married men are even more respected than single men. When you pick two men at the same age, let's say they are all 40, the one who is married with kids is more respected in society than the one who is not married. That is a protection, that is a societal status, that is recognition, and it is a social capital that gives you some sort of value, integrity, and status in society over your counterparts or other men. So it enhances a man's reputation, maturity, and social standing. So in many cases, this man is able to build a legacy or bring forth children who do follow particular bloodline. So you realize that these are structured. When we mention certain renowned people, we realize that you could trace their line or their ancestry to a certain point and realize that, oh, because of this man and this woman. But usually children who do come outside wedlock or are not able to come out of stable home do not have those kind of benefits. So realize that in many cases, marriage protects or gives men that kind of benefits. So I wouldn't want to waste so much of your time, and I've established that marriage protects children, women, and men. So no one should feel that they have been left out. Marriage is an institution where if you are able to manage it very well, you will get the best out of it. All those getting the best out of their marriages are because they are working it out. And so if you do not take certain things into consideration and have that misconception that I'm not getting anything from this marriage is meant to deceive certain people, it's meant to cheat certain people, or it is for certain people, you will not get the best out of it. So I believe that this episode is going to highlight so many things, or has been able to expose you to so many benefits that you were probably getting but had no idea of. And so with partnership and with love, we will be able to do so much for each other and protect each other, so that whatever life that we have ahead of us will be achieved successfully. So I would like to end this episode here, and I appreciate you so much for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, so that when I upload the next episode, it's going to be interesting. You'll be the first person to get it. I'll see you in the next episode.